Greetings everyone. I would like to welcome you to today's lecture. And Luteete Mikka is my name, a lawyer by profession, an advocate of the High Court with 13 years experience. Of course, I have a degree in law, a postgraduate diploma in law, and a master's. So I welcome you to today's lecture, and I'm mainly going to be taking you through the course outline, business and company law course outline. So I welcome all of you on board. I believe it's going to be a fruitful lecture. Basically, we're just going to go through what we intend to cover throughout the whole semester. Business and company law course outline. Now, course description. Course description, we are saying that persons engaged in business transactions require an understanding of legal structures, concepts, and obligations. The course seeks to expose business students to the law regulating business activities in Uganda. It is important for you people who are in the business world to appreciate the laws that regulate businesses in Uganda. This course introduces the legal framework of business in Uganda with emphasis on the law of obligations, sale of goods, agency, business organization, intellectual property rights, dispute resolution, and legal risk analysis. Now, upon completion of the course, students should be able to apply laws covered to selected business decision-making situations. And students will also be tested. Why should you be tested? So that we can be able to tell whether you can be able to apply that which you've been taught. And this may be in form of courseworks, exams, and what we call continuous assessment. Now let's briefly look through the learning objectives as per the course outline. To enable students to apply basic legal concepts of fundamental importance to business. It is important for you to appreciate the basic legal concepts of fundamental importance to business. Number two, to enable students analyze and evaluate legal risks associated with business transactions and to apply, very important, and to apply legal concepts to minimize those risks. Number three, to understand the general workings of the law or the legal system in Uganda. It is important for you to understand how the legal system operates in Uganda. Because since you are in the business world and you transact with one person or another, of course conflicts are likely to arise. So if conflicts arise out of a business transaction, it is important for you to know where to run to. That is why you need to understand the legal system in Uganda. Relevant laws. Relevant laws. Relevant laws basically addresses the different laws which we intend to cover in the course of our study. The different laws. Because you find that every topic which we are going to talk about under business law and company law has a law that regulates it. some of those laws are reflected upon under relevant laws. To make mention but a few, you can see the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, the Contracts Act, the Electronic Transactions Act, the Sale of Goods Act, and many others. Now, there is also relevant reading material. Of course, you are not going to only limit yourselves to the notes which I'll be sending you or which I've already downloaded on our e-learning platform, but there are other relevant reading material which you can get in the libraries. And these may be legal texts. For example, number 1, we have what we call Cheshire and 5 foot. We have Business Law by Machiwinga, Business Law by Joseph Ogola, Traitel, and many others. So you can enrich your mind, your legal mind, by looking for those materials. Now, in our first and second week, we intend to look at the introduction of law. Introduction to law. It is important for you to appreciate what law is all about. What is law? The general meaning of law. From a layman's perspective, what is law? It is important for you to define what law is. After defining what law is, it is important for you to analyze the nature of law, the different types of law. It is important for you to look at the nature of the law. It is also important for you to look at the different sources of law in Uganda. If you want a particular law, maybe criminal law, maybe civil law, maybe commercial law, where do you go to? So under sources of law, we'll look at where we can be able to get the different laws in case we are in need of them. Now, we'll look at what we call classification of the law. And under classification of the law, we'll address ourselves to public law, private law, criminal, and civil law. The court system in Uganda, we also look at the court system in Uganda. It is important for us to look at the court system in Uganda. And in case you have a conflict amongst yourselves, where do you run to? Which one is the first court of instance? And under the court system in Uganda, we'll address ourselves to the LC court system, the magistrate courts, high court, court of appeal or constitutional court, and then we'll also look at the Supreme Court as the basis of the court system in Uganda. Then it's important for us to also look at the advantages and disadvantages of law in a given society. It's very important for us to look at them. Now, in our third and fourth week, we'll look at the law of contract. We'll look at the law of contract. And under the law of contract, our leading law is the Contracts Act 2010. We'll look at formation of a contract. How do we enter into contractual obligations? It's very important. How do people walk into contractual obligations? What is important is for you to appreciate the fact that there should be a meeting of the minds between the two parties. What we call free consent of the parties. Agreement between the parties. And these parties will be or should agree on what we call a lawful consideration. So under formation of a contract, we'll look at what people can agree about. We'll look at the principle of offer, acceptance, and consideration under formation of a contract. Number 2, we'll look at performance and enforcement of a contract under Section 33 to Section 37 of the Contracts Act. Who can perform a contract? It's very important for us to look at who can perform a contract. And under that, we'll be able to look at the age. We'll be able to look at the age. Can a 15-year-old enter into contractual obligations? What of a 7-year-old? Because under that, we'll be looking at capacity to contract. It's very important. Can a mad person enter into contractual obligations? What of an intoxicated person? A person who is drunk beyond measure. Can they enter into contractual obligations? We'll address our minds to all that. And then we'll look at discharge of a contract. How a contract can come to an end between two contracting parties. We'll look at the different ways in which a contract can come to an end. Some of those include frustration, performance, and breach of a contract. Then, if time allows, still under the law of contract, we'll look at the remedies for breach of contract, some of which include compensation, specific performance, injunction, and repudiation. Still under contracts, we'll look at what I've termed as electronic contracts. These days, you do not need to travel to Japan. You do not need to travel to China. And neither do you need to travel to Germany if there is something you want from those countries. But you can transact online. And that is the business world of today. Because remember, we are in a global system, what we call globalization or global trading systems. More so in this era of COVID, whereby you cannot be able to travel because countries have put in place what we call measures against COVID. But you can still transact online. And the law in Uganda which can help us transact online is what we term as the Electronic Transactions Act. So we'll look at that. We'll define what an electronic transaction is under the law and how people transact online. We'll also look at the elements of a valid contract or a valid electronic contract. So it's important for us to look at electronic transactions. In our week 5, we'll address ourselves to the law of agency. And the law of agency also derives its powers from the Contracts Act 2010. The law of agency. And before I divulge more into the law of agency, it's important for you to understand that this is the law which most corporations, most big companies use in transaction of their businesses. Companies like banks, insurance companies, telecom companies, they use what we call the law of agency. How? Because you can be like, how do they use the law of agency? They operate through what we call agents. You find that there is a principal company which offers a particular service, but this principal company is not able to reach the customer. So what does it do? It engages a smaller company or person to help reach the customer. That is why when you see insurance companies like Jubilee Insurance, it has services it offers, but it operates them through what we call agents. When you look at MTN has different services it offers. The communication, mobile money, phone selling, and all of that. But it may not be able to reach the customer. So what does it do? It goes into what we call obligations with smaller companies like Medicom, Simba Telecom, which deal in the services of MTN. So that is how such companies operate. So we'll look at the law of agency. We'll define what an agency is, types of agencies, the duties of agents, duties of a principal, and how this relationship comes to an end. Then we'll also look at sale of goods and hire purchase. It is important for us to look at sale of goods. I believe that everyone who is listening to me has ever sold something. If you've never sold a thing in life, then there is a problem. Then there is a problem. Because the question is, how do you earn? Besides the monthly emolument you get, are you selling? Because the only way you can earn is through an emolument, or if you are selling something. So when we are doing sale of goods, I'm going to task every individual to sell something. You need to sell something. If not on a daily, at least on a weekly basis. Find something you can sell in order to learn. Often a time in the Ugandan setup, you find that most Ugandans are consumers. That's why they are poor. They only buy. We have very few sellers. Just look at yourself. How much do you spend in a day? And how much do you get in a day? The road to you being rich and wealthy is if you sell more than what you buy. But you find that most Ugandans spend more than what they earn. Meaning that their ratio is income plus expenditures, income plus liabilities equals to expenditure. That is the ratio of Ugandans. Income plus liabilities equals to their expenditure. Meaning that they spend more than what they earn. And because they spend more than what they earn, they end up falling into debt. So strive to get out of the debt syndrome. And you will get to appreciate that under the law of sale of goods. So look at formation of a contract under sale of goods. It's important for us to look at that. Formation of a contract under sale of goods. We'll define what price is, what a good is, and then we'll look at conditions and warranties. We'll also look at capacity to enter into such a contract. And then in our week 8 and 9, we'll look at business organizations. How do people in Uganda execute businesses? How do they execute businesses? It is important for us to look at business organizations. And under business organizations, we'll address ourselves to companies. And under companies, we'll address ourselves to the different types of companies. And under that, we have private companies, public companies, companies limited by guarantee. We'll address ourselves to partnerships. It's one of the ways in which people execute businesses in Uganda. They form what we call partnerships. So we'll look at that. We also look at what we call sole proprietorships. Ng'oli ekintu akikola yekka. You go and open a shop and you're doing each and everything alone. Even your family does not know how you do business. So we look at sole proprietorship, we look at joint ventures, we look at cooperative societies, we look at circles, and any other business organizations that you know. We'll look at them. And then in our week 10, it is important for us to divulge into partnerships. What is a partnership as a form of business? We'll look at the different types of partnerships, how they are formed, the duties of partners, and how partnerships come to an end. And we'll also compare partnerships with other business organizations. And then we'll also look at intellectual property rights. If you come up with an invention, how do you protect it from other people, third parties or second parties, so that they may not encroach on it? Where do you run to? How do you protect that which you've come up with? Some of you have invented something, or probably you're on the road to invention. So how do you protect that invention from encroachment? Now that is what we'll be looking at under intellectual property rights. We'll look at industrial property, that is patents, trademarks, and industrial designs. We'll look at copyrights. We'll look at licensing and franchising. We'll look at that. And then we'll also look at, in our last week, if time allows, we'll look at what I've termed as negotiable instruments. Negotiable instruments. Whenever you hear negotiable instruments, that is banking language. That is the law on banking. We want to look at how banks execute their works. And under that, we'll look at the different instruments used in the banking world, where we have what we call bills of exchange, checks, and promissory notes. We'll also analyze the banking and customer relationship. We'll look at it. And lastly, we'll address ourselves to what we call commercial dispute resolution. How do you resolve disputes which arise out of businesses? That's what that is all about. Commercial dispute resolution. And under that, we'll address ourselves to taking a case to court. Now, you may not want to take a case to court. There are other ways in which you can solve disputes without necessarily going to court. And some of these ways include commercial arbitration, mediation, conciliation, negotiation, and negotiation. Conciliation and negotiation. So, that is a brief summary of the course outline, what we intend to cover under business. I'm calling upon all of you to join me in the course of this study. I believe we are all going to benefit from business and company law. I urge each and every one of you to be able to attend any of our meetings. If God allows and we are able to have physical classes, well and good. If you are not able to have physical classes and we are usually online, I pray that you guys endure to attend in order for you guys to benefit from this course. This course, like you've seen the course outline, has a lot that we have to cover. and we do not have enough time. It comes with legal texts, or what I call legal laws, the laws. It comes with cases. You'll have to learn on how to quote a case. It comes with you memorizing sections of the law. And the only way you can be able to memorize the sections of the law is if you are able to attend. But I believe we are going to have a fruitful discussion at the end of it all. And I know that you'll all be able to make it. Thank you very much. May God bless you all.